Good morning. I'm Gail Brewer, Manhattan Borough President, and I'm here to talk about helicopters. So we're here like we have been in October of 2019, March of this year, because we're concerned about the expansion and lack of regulation of helicopters. They are a nuisance and safety hazard to the 5 boroughs and to New Jersey, and we're tired of this situation. We're not going to stand for it anymore. I certainly want to, thank you everybody. Thank you. In the past, we have stood with our wonderful, wonderful congressional representatives, and in a few minutes we'll hear from the phenomenal, fabulous Congressman Jerry Nadler, but he, Carolyn Maloney, and Nydia Velasquez have introduced or reintroduced the Improving Helicopter Safety Act, and he'll talk more about what that would do if it passes in Washington. We have been talking about this, all of us, for 20 years or more, and it's time that legislation passed. When I was a council member, I worked with the Economic Development Corporations and all of our elected officials to come up with a helicopter sightseeing plan. It was released in April 29, 2010. It supposedly eliminated short tours, banned flights over Central Park and the Empire State Building, and mandated a route over water. I say supposed because it doesn't always happen. There has been some city progress, but it was funny because with the congressman, when Mr. Bloomberg was mayor, he had a helicopter and a license, so we figured we couldn't do much. And then in comes de Blasio as mayor, and we still couldn't do much. We do have, however, thanks to him, no tourist flights supposedly out of 30th Street and 34th Street, but they still go out of downtown. And this is what happens when the helicopters fly over our borough and our city and New Jersey. Shakespeare in the Park, zzz, I've heard them. Cameras falling and oil dropping from poorly regulated helicopters. Doorless helicopters, and you'll hear from the fabulous council member Cohen from New Jersey. Doorless helicopters out of New Jersey. Non-essential helicopter flights. They have to be reined in. It makes no sense to have them. So here in Manhattan, we have the West 30th Street, the downtown, the East 34th Street heliports. Tens of thousands of flights a year. It's no wonder that the oppressive, disoriented helicopter noise is now an ever-present part of life for so many of us. In the parks, in the streets. Listen to the number of complaints. New Yorkers registered 7,700 complaints about helicopter noise with 311 in 2020. That's double 29 complaints. This month alone, and the month of October is not over, 2,069 helicopter noise complaints to 311. Helicopters, really, they cater to a small slice of tourists or a cadre of elite travelers using them as charter flights to the airports or to weekend destinations, I assume in the Hamptons, certainly not to Manhattan or the 5 boroughs. It's never essential. As an example, Blade's commuter copters will soon offer 12 minutes from Westchester to Manhattan. Take the train. The good thing about Trump's presidency was the temporary flight restriction around Trump Tower. Yes, thank God he moved to Florida. But with that lifted, I think that New Jersey taking pictures, individuals can fly over Midtown. This noise pollution and the environmental pollution, it's just awful. So this year, thanks to many of those standing with me, we have a new task force on helicopters, elected officials from all New York and New Jersey. The EDC, the FAA, the Eastern Region Helicopter Council, Hudson River Park Trust, and companies. We've made some progress. I want to thank NYC and Company, that's the tourist agency for New York. They had some contracts with companies to do, let's have pictures out of New Jersey, photographs. They canceled all of those contracts. So we are now, this is the reason we're here today. We have a letter that I think you have that was signed by elected officials from the Borough of Manhattan, Brooklyn, Jersey City, Weehawken, Hoboken, Queens, Brooklyn, and all of the 5 boroughs. I want to thank particularly Council Member Phil Cohen from Hoboken, and you'll hear from him in a minute. Thank you. So there's 27 elected officials from all the places I just mentioned, and we are urging DOT US, EPA US to put an end to this terror in the skies. We need transparency, we need safety, and we need the end of the wild, wild west. That's why I'm so honored to be here with all of my colleagues and people who are advocates. I have to be honest with you, every time I'm out on the street, what do I hear? Complaints about this issue. This is not something that we're making up. It is a huge issue for our constituents. Now I'm really honored to give you an incredible hero, Congressman Gerald Nadler.
I am very pleased to be here with my colleagues in city and state government, alongside our counterparts from New Jersey, to rally support in addressing a major safety and quality of life issue for New Yorkers and New Jerseyans, the blight of non-essential helicopter flights over our city. New Yorkers bear the cost of crowded skies every day. The consequences of our dangerously jam-packed airspace are felt as New Yorkers spend more time in our outdoor public spaces. When helicopter noise drowns out Shakespeare performances and family picnics in Central Park, and when residents' excessive exposure to aircraft noise and pollution can make it harder to breathe and causes other harmful health effects. The swarm of non-essential helicopters that fill New York's airspace doesn't just produce noxious noise and environmental pollution, they put New Yorkers' lives in danger. New York City is the most densely populated city in the United States and is one of the highest rates of helicopter uses in the world. Any potential helicopter accident over our airspace inevitably places New Yorkers in their homes and on the ground at risk. You don't have to look any further than the 30 helicopter crashes since 1982 that have caused at least 25 deaths for proof. For years, we've called on the Federal Aviation Administration to impose additional regulations to protect New Yorkers from these dangerously low flights over the city. We're here today to call on the FAA and the U.S. Department of Transportation to support the Improving Helicopter Safety Act, the bill that I introduced with my colleagues, Congresswoman Maloney and Congresswoman Velasquez, and I should mention also Congressman Albios of the other side of the river. This legislation would eliminate non-essential helicopter traffic, which would drastically reduce helicopter traffic, improve safety, and cut down on noise pollution. We also call on the FAA to implement new regulations and impose special flight rules for all non-essential helicopters over highly populated areas, including the city of New York and adjacent parts of New Jersey. This is an urgent problem affecting New Yorkers every day, and failure to act is unacceptable. I'm proud that our bill would lead where the FAA has failed, and by banning non-essential helicopters from flying over New York's covered airspace, keep New Yorkers safer and improve the quality of life. Thank you to my colleagues who are all working tirelessly to reduce risky helicopter traffic over our city. We'll keep working at all levels of government to ensure this bill becomes law. And let me just define for a minute, what do we mean by non-essential? Well, there are some essential flights. Police flights, safety flights, hospital rescue operations, news reporting protected by the First Amendment. But that's it. Everything else, probably 95–96% of all the flights are non-essential, causing noise pollution, causing the possibility of deaths, causing higher carbon emissions, causing higher asthma rates in New York. This is intolerable. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I want to thank and acknowledge Manhattan Borough President Gail Brewer for her leadership. She formed the helicopter task force, recognizing this was a regional problem that needed a regional solution. There are 11 New Jersey elected officials that have signed on to the letter that's being issued today.
Yay!
11 New Jersey elected officials, going to Secretary Buttigieg and to Transportation Administrator as well. When we talk about non-essential helicopter traffic, the perfect example is the Fly Nyanon that operates out of Kearny, New Jersey. that promotes and talks about perfect shoe selfies. Last year they had 50,000 individuals, this one operator, 50,000 individuals traveled over, just one operator, on tours over New York City. They leave from Kearny, New Jersey 7 days a week. This is just one operator. I want to thank Congressman Albio Cirez from New Jersey, who is a partner with Congressman Nadler on these issues. He signed on to this letter to the leaders in the New Jersey State Assembly and New Jersey Senate that have signed on, Raj Mukherjee, Annette Chaparro, to Mayor Ravi Bala, to the members of the Hoboken City Council, and all the other elected officials in New Jersey who recognize that if we're going to address this issue of pollution, of noise pollution, of environmental pollution that's affecting negatively the quality of life of so many people who live in Hudson County, New Jersey, who live under these flights every day, that we need an answer. We look forward to hearing from Secretary Buttigieg and the Administrator of the EPA. Thank you very much.
I want to talk about one specific piece of this topic, and that's this heliport that we're standing outside of right now. This heliport is in the middle of Hudson River Park. There is no justification for having a heliport, especially for non-essential use. There's no justification for having a heliport in the middle of a public park. That's not where it belongs. When we passed the Hudson River Park Act in 1998, we thought we were laying the groundwork for getting this heliport out of here. That hasn't happened. And so I'm announcing today that Senator Brad Hoylman and I are going to be putting in legislation that, among other things, would get rid of the heliport in Hudson River Park. It's time for it to go. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Madam Borough President and Congressman Nadler, and to all of my congressional colleagues who have worked on this issue. I was at the first rally that I attended, was at Pier 11, years and years ago, and I was not even elected to office yet. This has been an issue that has plagued my district for many, many years. And of course, when they moved so many tourist helicopter flights to Pier 11, when you go up from Pier 11, you are on the East River. And across the East River is Brooklyn. And so the traffic, helicopter traffic increased enormously once they moved a lot of the flights to Pier 11. And of course, the same effects. It disrupts children's sleep. It makes, there are people who are really triggered by this. You know, Battery Park City, there are a lot of people, veterans, for example, who are triggered by this constant helicopter noise. At any one day, you can be out at Brooklyn Bridge Park, look up and see at least 6 or 7 helicopters in the air. And so this has great effect. They also buzz the high school students in their boats at the harbor school on Governor's Island. So this is bad behavior. They need to not be doing this, and the only way we can stop this from happening is to ban these non-essential helicopter flights, because they have not listened to reason. It's been 20 years. Enough is enough. Let's ban them. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to the amazing Gail Brewer. Let's give her a big round of applause. 20 years of leadership from before she was even an elected official, and thank you, Congressman Jerry Nadler, for years and years and years of leading on this. Thanks to you, we have made progress. We have curtailed these flights, but it's not enough, because this is an interstate problem, and because of rising business models like Blade here, this is not just an ongoing threat, but a growing threat. And so I am so thrilled that we have you here, Councilmember Cohen. You know, it's not often that elected officials from New Jersey and New York agree on anything. We are not going to bring up congestion pricing today, I promise you. But on this, we are united, and I am so grateful to all 11 of the elected officials from New Jersey who have signed on to this letter. Let's give them another big round of applause. My colleagues have spoken so eloquently already, and I don't want to repeat. I'm just going to make 2 really important points. First, in my capacity as chair of the City Council Health Committee, I want to say that non-essential helicopter flights, these thousands of flights, are not just a safety threat and an environmental threat. They are very much a health threat. And this is because of the fumes that they spew, which impacts air quality and asthma rates, but also the noise itself. This has now been documented through rigorous research to have a health impact by disrupting sleep, by elevating anxiety and stress, and perhaps ways we don't even understand. But the impact is clear that the noise that's coming, often at deafening levels, in people's homes at all times of the day, is impacting our health, our physical health. And for that reason alone, we need to ban these non-essential flights. And secondly, from the perspective of another portfolio I care deeply about, which is parks. This is one of the top priorities of the parks community in New York City right now. Because for parks like Hudson River Park, like Riverside Park, and other parks around the city, the usability is seriously degraded by the constant buzzing of helicopters. We go to parks for a respite. We go to parks for quiet reflection often. It's impossible when you have this noise buzzing over. And so it is particularly galling that here in Hudson River Park, the park itself is home to this heliport, and I am really grateful for the leadership of Assemblymember Gottfried and Senator Hoylman for this legislation and taking this on. So can we give those two a big round of applause as well? So, right on cue, right on cue. It's unbelievable. You can't make this up.
That's why we're here.
You can't hear me at all right now. And there we go. Anyway, that's my cue to stop. I'll just say that depending on what happens on Tuesday, I'm going to do everything I can to continue the fight of the current borough president as long as it takes to fix this. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Gail.
Thank you, Borough President. Thank you, Congressman. Thank you, Stop the Chop. Let's hear it for Stop the Chop and all your advocacy. I'll tell you what isn't essential. It's not essential for a billionaire who's running late for a golf game in the Hamptons to jump on a blade and hightail it out of this park. That's not essential. Am I right about that? That is crazy that we allow that. And I am so proud to be working with Assemblymember Gottfried on a package of bills that we're introducing in Albany, because we can work with the city and the federal government in putting a stop to this dangerous noise. The legislation we're introducing today, in addition to what Dick Gottfried mentioned, will do two things. One, it's going to stop the city from contracting with tourist chopper companies at any of their helipads.
Yay.
There is no reason why the city of New York should be allowing tourist choppers from their city-run helipads.
Thank you.
Secondly, it's going to create, and this is where we got to get creative, it's going to create a new cause of action for New Yorkers who want to sue chopper companies.
Yes.
Because we know that the health effects are dangerous. We know that the environmental effects are significant. With this legislation, you'll be able to go to a court in New York and sue a chopper company for nuisance, whether they're in New York or in New Jersey. How about that? It's time we not just stop the chop, but we're going to sue the chop with this legislation. So thank you again, Borough President. Thank you, Congressman, and all of my colleagues. Let's stop this annoyance now. Thank you.
I'm State Senator Brian Kavanaugh. I'm sort of the bridge senator. I represent Lower Manhattan. I also represent Brooklyn, and I represent the disputed interstate territory of Liberty Island and the harbor as well. This has been a long-standing issue in the communities I represent. It really is, has been said by so many of my colleagues, an assault on the senses of our residents trying to peacefully enjoy their homes. It is an assault on New Yorkers who are trying to enjoy our parks like Brooklyn Bridge Park, which I represent. It's also an assault on the many tourists who come to New York to see these attractions, to experience them like New Yorkers do, to take a stroll across the Brooklyn Bridge, to walk through our iconic parks that they've heard about for so many years. And what we do by the policies that we have in place now is permit a very small fraction of people to impose an enormous burden on those experiences. The experience of our residents living in their homes and the experience of other tourists who come here who just want to enjoy the city. It is a tremendous assault on people's senses. It also, we haven't talked about this as much today, it's also an enormous environmental problem. We understand that in so many areas, we have to stop doing things the way we've done. We have to stop burning fossil fuels. These helicopters burn fuel at an enormous rate. If you're standing here today, you can smell the fumes coming off the helicopter, even though it's 30 yards away. There is no good reason to continue this activity. I've joined many times our Congress members in pushing for a federal legislative solution. We're calling today for an executive response from the Biden administration, and I also join Brad Hoylman and Dick Gottfried and my many colleagues in the legislature in the package of legislation that has already been presented. We need to get this done. We need to end this scourge in our skies. Thank you.
I'm Andy Rosenthal, president of Stop the Chop. I'll keep my remarks very brief. This has been a plague on New York for 20 years. Much of it could be ended tomorrow. So my comments are addressed to the mayor, who could terminate the 2 leases on the East River tomorrow. Please do that before you leave office. I also implore the board of the Hudson River Park that has dragged its feet on regulating and moving this heliport somewhere else. As we heard earlier, when the park was formed 20 years ago, this heliport was supposed to go. It's 20 years late. The board could also do that tomorrow. This heliport is operating on a 30-day lease. Let's end it this month and tell them goodbye. Give us a Christmas present. Give us a holiday present. Let's end the New York-based helicopter traffic this year.
Thank you, Andy.
Hi, I'm Melissa Elstein with Stop the Chop NYNJ. I'm also with the West 80s Neighborhood Association. Both of these groups are nonprofit, all-volunteer organizations, and we've been just assaulted with helicopter noise and traffic, and it has been growing because of this twofold problem of the tourist helicopters, some emanating from New York City, the downtown heliport, and the majority from Kearny, New Jersey, some Linden, some Westchester, and we understand now maybe some from Long Island. So it's a twofold problem, and we have over 10,000 signatures on our petition on change.org. We've been organizing during the pandemic, so during the shutdown, and the complaints have just been increasing and increasing. This is a serious problem. In addition to the health problems that Marc Levine mentioned, there's also the issue of increased risk of cardiac attack. There's also the lowering of cognitive abilities. Hold on. Okay. Cognitive abilities in children and adults. This has been proven. We have scientific studies on our website, so check that out. Also, we'd like you to talk to, we have a lot of residents here who all on our free time have been organizing and gathering around the clock sometimes on this issue because we have been made miserable. So talk to some of the residents here. Raise your hand if you're a resident. Yeah, raise your hand if you're just a resident, a victim. We also have the sailing club trying to, and you can probably speak next, trying to...
We got enough speakers.
Oh, you have enough speakers? Okay. Well, I'll say they're trying to operate a business here, sailing, kayaking, and it's just become impossible. Our Hudson River, the East Rivers have become helicopter highways. It's a wild west of the skies. Our parks sound like war zones. They should be places of nature, of respite, of healing. So thank you, Gail Brewer, for including us, and Congressmember Nadler for your legislation, and all the electeds on both sides of the river. Thanks so much.
Thank you.